Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and Misty's not here today. She is shopping with her grandson. But guess who we have back? Oh my God, I am so excited. Barbara's back. Barbara and she channels not only Albert Einstein, but many, many, many spirits that she wants to in context. Anyone, pretty much, right? You just ask them and they show up. So she was on the podcast called A Chat with Al, and she did channel Albert Einstein on that. Now, Barbara, I do have to ask you, do you still think we're all psychic?
I absolutely know we are all psychic.
Knows it. She absolutely knows it. So how do you know it now?
I know it because I think as we talked the last time I was there, is that
you know it that time too? You might have known it that time too.
I think I knew it too because it's all part of the map of human consciousness that Albert Einstein has delivered to us. That it's like we all have organs. We all have a heart. Can't live without a heart.
No.
Can't live without a kidney. Well,
without both kidneys.
Yeah. Without both kidneys. But these three spiritual dimensions we work with: emotion, intuition, and intellect. Intuition is that psychic organ that everybody has. Yes.
And it's just like in every pore and every part of us, it feels like. In hair. I have a friend who is told me about a study. She's talked about it on the podcast where they had Native American hunters with long hair, and they never cut their hair, and they were like great at whatever they did athletically. And they did kind of an experiment. They cut their hair and they couldn't do the things they did before. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. I thought that was always an interesting story. I don't know where she read that or heard that, but I always thought that was a really fascinating study that I think she told me, but I never remember where the information comes from. So I am not the news. So Barbara, what has been going on with you since you've been on the podcast?
Well, I think I talked to you about, I don't know, not quite a year ago.
Yeah, it was not quite. Yeah, I think it's around. Yeah.
Because I was coming through Alabama in December, and we had already done the podcast.
Okay.
And you and I tried to meet up, and it didn't work out.
I know, it was such.
And then we were going to go to that amethyst or that crystal field.
Yes.
Between my house and your house, or where I was staying. So I ended up taking off from Orlando in January to go to the UK. And my whole mission of my World Peace Tour started a year ago when the world had just gotten so insane. And I have 30 years of work, including conflict, revolution, world peace,
like
person at a time, starting with the self. And I came to a point in my life where I'll be 70 next year. And knock on wood, my mother and father lived to be in their mid 90s. So I might have a lot of time ahead, but I thought the world needs this information. I have a very specific and incredible body of work that can really make a difference in the world. So I'm dedicating the rest of my life to getting this information out however I can. So I
want to edit that to credible.
Oh,
let's make it credible. It's not incredible because you do it.
Oh, right. It's very credible.
It is. You have done it. You've demonstrated it on our podcast to all the listeners who listened or watched, and on your journeys, like you're about to tell us about, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. So one way that I wanted to travel and just I always say this about, when Jesus got up in the morning, he didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
Now, there were 12 other people who probably had plans for him, but I think he pretty much just followed his intuition.
Yeah.
And so this whole first step of my rest of my life, World Peace Tour, was intuitively guided very strongly. And I joined a website called Trusted House Sitters. And I applied for different house sitting, AKA pet sitting gigs, all across the UK for 3 months.
Oh my gosh. How cool is that?
And that was
kind of the idea.
It was great. I totally recommend it to anybody who is adventurous and has the capacity to leave home for that long of a time,
without
like
pets.
I
They
did.
don't have their own pets.
Yeah, don't have your own pets. And then I was lucky enough I live on a kind of a seasonal vacation island in northern Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so I was lucky enough to rent my house all winter to one of the locals who needed. So I had that going. And then I have a friend in Georgia who just wanted me to come and stay with her. So I kind of launched from there.
Yeah.
But when I got to the UK, one of the first things I did was, and I really encourage people who are curious about this work to investigate the our Aetherius Society, AETHERIUS, Aetherius.
Okay, I'll put that word in the description for some reason.
Okay,
there will be a reason that I put it in.
And what this is, it's kind of a religion that was formed in the 1950s by a guy named George King. Okay. And he was this very intensive yogi. He was British, who was visited by this being from Venus named Aetherius.
Okay.
Said, you are now going to be the voice of what we call the Interplanetary Parliament. And we are a group of souls and Venusians, I guess.
Venetians. Who I don't know how to pronounce it either.
Right. I don't think it's the Venetians because that's Venice, but Venus. And we're here to help with world peace.
Okay.
So he channeled hours and hours of stuff, and the international headquarters is in London.
Oh, okay.
And it was George King's birthday. And I had been on a podcast with a woman who was part of the Aetherius Society and said, why don't you come while you're in London? I just happened to be there on his birthday. So I went to the first service, and it was absolutely fascinating. I didn't take part in it because it's this very intense and very precision. It's almost like they're chanting together, but all the stuff is about world peace. It's all about peace, world peace, praying for peace. And there's kind of, it's almost like they look like bishops.
Oh, they have the hats.
Yeah, the hats and the stuff. And there's a very specific sort of, order that
rituals
you look at
and stuff.
Yeah. And so, and then in the break between that and the birthday celebration they were having, they took me over to his house that he lived in, where he channeled Aetherius, and down into this basement room where he did all his channeling. And it was just fascinating. And there's a picture on the little altar. There's a picture, one side of Earth and one side of Jesus, because he channeled Jesus. So we go back to the birthday party, and it's again kind of ceremonial, but they're giving the whole history of him and the religion of it. And apparently they say there was a different Earth before Earth. There was a different. You've heard this?
No, I haven't heard this, but I've always wondered because of that asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. The asteroid field. I was kind of like thought, what if there was like a war between two planets? They both lost, I think.
Well, and what they said was it didn't survive because the beings, I don't know if they were human or not, were not given free will.
Oh, interesting. They have a creator unlike ours, is what he was saying.
Yes. And then so Earth volunteered sort of and was chosen to be this new birthplace for humanity, which also fits into the maps of consciousness and the unified field that we have with our Einstein. But what was most profound to me was somewhere in the middle of this presentation, which was still very ceremonial, they had an actual video of George King from the 70s at something. And he basically was saying, you don't know the hell I've been through. Being the voice for the Interplanetary Parliament. And I felt like he was talking right to me. It's
I bet.
I get it. So
what kind of messages does he offer from the Venusians?
It's very much like this. Yes. I have no doubt that George King, who actually communicated with Einstein at one point, is not in the party.
Yeah.
there's so many who are drawn to Einstein, I think, in Afterlife and this work that we're doing.
Yeah.
But it was all about peace and inner peace and world peace and having a ritual to keep yourself in that peace.
Yes.
Strong ritual.
I found a really good, I got my master Reiki certification last January. I got attuned and I did the classes in December. But when I was attuned, everything really changed as far as how the Reiki is. I don't know how to explain it, but I can just like, I call it a Reiki puddle. I'll just like let the Reiki flow and I'll feel it just all like, I feel everything relax and get the Reiki rumble, you know. And I can just sit in that, and I just sit in that puddle. And I'm trying to do it like in public sometimes, but it's harder because I'm distracted. You know, I can't get that same, whoa, you know, that same feeling because I'm self-conscious, I think, or something. I don't know. It's not the Reiki's fault. It's my fault because I'm like, there's people around.
Well,
I might fall asleep.
Right. It's an art to have what we call a waking, walking prayer. In a waking, walking state, which is what we're trying to do. But that's our challenge for sure. So
what do you think? In your experiences as you've explored this from your launch, like what examples of peace have you seen demonstrated, or people talking about how we can get there? I mean, have you heard any things like that, or anybody have a good idea?
All of our work is built on this idea that we can only start with ourselves anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Period. Listeners, watchers, what she just said.
Yeah. Because, I've been on over 50 podcasts in the past year, and I still just can't talk enough. Everybody wants to talk about this because people want to know how to do this.
Yes.
And a lot of times when I present these ideas, people are like, yes, we need to get our leaders to do this and we need to get these people. It's like, no, we can't get anybody to do anything.
No,
we have to do it.
You're absolutely.
And what I've learned is that people underestimate how important that is.
Like, I think it's probably the most important thing we do in our lives.
It is. And the hardest.
Yeah. And to get to know ourselves, accept ourselves, forgive ourselves, grow, change, evolve. I mean, the nature of nature is to evolve, right? So that's what we're here doing, I guess.
Yeah. And in a way, I call it kind of stalking yourself. Conflict revolution is all about looking in the mirror.
That's the name of this podcast. Stalking yourself.
You have to stalk yourself.
Exactly. Right? Love yourself like you would love that dude. Like think about yourself all the time, but not to I don't know that there's a line of ego, because some people are doing that, but they're not doing it with consideration of other people doing the same thing. So, also I would add, start with yourself, definitely. Right. And then also, not everybody's there. Not everybody wants peace. They don't. I don't know why though. Why do you think some people like the constant conflict and the problems? I mean, I feel it, especially in the South, there's a lot of it.
I think there's a lot of it everywhere, but I think people want to transcend it, but it's the patterns, the old habitual patterns of how humanity was raised is part of what evolution is about, right?
Yes. You're right.
And so when we're stalking ourselves, we're watching ourselves to make sure, because, if you're so triggered that somebody didn't respect you, how triggered are you going to be if you find out that you weren't respecting yourself or you weren't respecting somebody else? Right. That's the hard revolution point.
Those are things you have to work with. Right. Yeah. And that's a very good example, I think. I was always very hard on myself when I was younger for things I didn't do. And then when I was like the middle ages, like the 30s, 40s, I didn't do anything wrong.
Wow.
Now I'm kind of evening out,
Yeah. I think we all go through that. That part of life where we think that we're just we
got it, everything's fine. We got this. And then no a few years later it's like
when I first started channeling many years ago, there was a period of time of ego crushing where I would channel stuff that was just not quickly.
How did you find the difference? How did you separate them for yourself? Like be able, or did you integrate them? How did you make that work?
I think it was those lessons of realizing there was a situation with a young man I had met who was disabled and he needed a lot of help. And I did these channeling sessions with people where it said, you're going to help this young man. And all of it was, the result was just so bad, you know. People were resentful, and I realized that, oh my gosh, this is me in here.
Some of you wanted to adjust the situation.
And use this. And it's crushing. It was crushing emotionally to realize that about myself. And so then there was a real push to make sure that I was working outside of my own, you know. But I don't know if you can ever really divorce the whole thing.
I agree with you there. With mediumship, I go through the same kind of thing. I don't channel. They tell me, they come around. They maybe I channel. I don't remember usually what happens. Someone has to remind me, or
when you're doing a reading, you mean? You don't?
Yeah, whenever I do readings, I don't usually remember them very well. If it's someone I talk to a lot or often, I will. But the general gist of what's going on. But I think for me, it's more like. For me, when I do mediumship, I'm doubting myself. Like, is that really what they're saying? Are they saying toaster? Are they saying the toaster's silver for some reason? Okay, I'll just say it. So a lot of that I would have to try, and it would be wrong or right. But I never did that with a big thing, like when I was not sure. Well, I probably did, but not that I can think of right now. But I remember times where I would tell people stuff that I think they were saying. But then later on, I'd realize or they'd come back and say, well, you didn't say it right, And then I'll be like, well, why? And they're like, well, you wanted that person to hear it this way, and I wanted them to hear it the way they needed to hear it. So, that's why you should use these words, example. And I was like, oh, okay.
This is how we learn,
Yes, and mistakes are the only way to learn.
Yeah,
the best way, the fastest.
No. Exactly.
So tell me more. So what else?
Okay, so then I had probably 8 different pet sits, from Scotland to Wales down to southern UK. Even I had one in Calais, which is in France, and I got to go to Paris for a few weeks just for my own. But on all of those pet sits, I picked little towns and was looking to sort of embed in a little town so that I could go to the coffee shop every morning. Or if you've never been to the UK, don't ever bring clothes, because there are so many incredible thrift stores in every single town, I mean, it's just mind blowing to me. I thought, okay, next time I'm coming with an empty suitcase.
That's smart. Yeah. Thank you for telling me that, because I love that. Can you imagine? I can't imagine the kinds of styles and stuff. Oh my God.
There were so many layers of this trip that were so wonderful in their little kind of ordinary ways. So, but I knew how to get, the people at the fish and chip shop where I'd see, and I could have these conversations, what are you doing? Oh, what are you in the UK for? And then talking about my World Peace Tour and World Peace One Person at a Time and conflict resolution. And it has to start with self. And so many people they warm up to it, even though I don't know if they're going to do it, but talking about it, getting the message out, being that example is what I wanted to do. And then everything I learned from not only the different animals, because there were always more than one animal, and the dynamics of the dogs and the cats. And then everybody has a completely different, like, home kitchen setup.
Yeah.
And so you had to know all these, every time you had to learn the different.
Where are the forks? Where's the plates?
Yeah, where's the garbage? What time does the mail come in? When are you doing that? And then there's the walking, because everybody wanted their dog walked twice a day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was in Salisbury, and I had they're called red labs.
Well, I've seen them. Yeah. They're kind of like Irish setters, but they're labs. They're that color.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And these were the best trained dogs, and they gave me the dog car to drive on the wrong side of the street to
the dogs.
The New Forest. Now, the New Forest is something I'd never heard of. It's a huge, huge, ancient UK forest with wild horses and completely just like you're in a Hobbit or Harry Potter or something.
Yeah, medieval magical place. Yeah.
So every day I'd get to go there and let the dogs out and let them run and walk through these forests and just stuff like that. And then I happened to be in London, passing through London when the Julian Assange appeal hearing was taking place. And Julian Assange is the journalist who's been imprisoned for 14 years actually, for being a journalist. And the beautiful part was I was right behind his wife and right behind his dad. And he was released. He was released about a month ago. Well, maybe 3 weeks ago. They finally released him. And it was when he got released, I just thought, that's why I was in London.
That had to be
party to just
really weird. Yeah, maybe that all that energy together got through to somebody, and somebody thought something like, "What am I doing? This is," and maybe they went through the dark night of the soul on that decision. Maybe.
Angels working overtime. Maybe
they always are. Yeah.
So, and then I got to go to Bucharest, where I have an associate and a very dear friend, Carmen Mira, who has been my promoter through the years in Bucharest. And we got to have quite a little adventure on our own there. I did a really beautiful reading for us where they said that when I got back to the United States, and then I went from Georgia to Tucson, where I went to the Science of Consciousness conference put on by the University of Arizona, Tucson.
Okay. For
30 years, these left brain scientists have been meeting to find the meaning. What is consciousness?
What? I didn't know about this.
Yes.
I'm not a scientist, but I want to go there and talk to them.
I know you do.
All to come on the podcast.
Me too, man.
Doctors, come, you're all psychic, come be guests.
Yes. Let us talk about the intersection between science and spirit.
I love that.
And so I had applied to speak there in last December. And right before I left, I got the word that I had a little tiny segment where I could present.
That's so great.
I was crazy. It was crazy too, because these scientists, it's so funny. They've been meeting for 30 years, and 30 years ago, it was all left brain scientists talking the scientific language that I couldn't understand. But as they began to discover the real nature of consciousness, they started to attract in the Rumi poets and the psychologists and the kind of the more right brainy, like human development people, because you can't have consciousness without human stuff. Yeah. So I came away just super excited, like, okay, I'm on to the right thing. And one of the people I didn't meet him. His name is Thomas Campbell. He's a physicist. And it's called the theory of everything. My big toe, he calls it. And he had a booth with some people from the Center of Science and Consciousness, and they invited me to come to this similar conference in Huntsville at the end of September. Now, I didn't get a chance to get a speaking slot, but I am so excited about going, and they have all kinds of things. I know. They have like meditation and yoga in the morning. And so it isn't just, but I want to meet Thomas Campbell, the physicist, who his proteges at the other conference, when they heard my theory, said, we think Thomas Campbell wrote the mathematics that prove what you're saying.
Whoa, that is really cool.
I know.
That's really cool.
Just crazy.
Those things, these things happen, and they are real, listeners and watchers. These things happen, as you know, like, because you're all psychic. And so continue on. What else? That's
okay. So
the biggest
when I was in
ever,
Barbara's Big Adventure. So when I was in Bucharest, I did this channel for me and Carmen, because we're going to start working together next year, doing events, live events and online events. And we did this reading. They said, when I finished my drive, because I had to drive from Georgia to Tucson, and then I went up through Colorado, did some more pet sitting, met some more people. And when I was through making this circle, that my pathway was going to start to really break open and make some bigger progress with this intention that I have to get this uplifted. So I got back to Madison. Now I have another 5 hours to go north to get home, but it was the circle. And I had received this invitation from the Tucker Carlson network. Now, Tucker Carlson is a completely controversial figure, I'm learning.
I don't know who that is. Yeah.
He's a journalist. And he used to be, in the days back, he used to be really kind of a tool for the establishment, and he was all for the Iraqi war. And he had this epiphany when he went to Iraq to cover the war, where he realized the horror of war. And
kids, people just random living their lives being uprooted for one or two people arguing, or three,
or the United States bombing people who, why would
we bomb any civilians? Yeah. I mean, why does anyone do that? Why?
Yeah.
Figure it out. I cannot put in my brain why anybody would bomb anybody.
Right.
Me. Some people get it. I don't get that.
I don't either.
Why do you want to do that? There's so many women don't. The men are the ones
right.
Say that. But our culture in the Western culture is very male dominated. Women are getting a lot of rights, of course, but we still don't get the same pay as men. That's damn straight. But we won't get the promotions as easily unless there's an open-minded man up ahead of us, or a woman, and I just feel that, I almost feel like women are being punished for something we did in ancient times. Maybe we enslaved the men and just used their sperm or something. I don't know.
Very likely some Amazonian species.
Yes.
Whatever it is, whyever the male, patriarchal dominance is now,
so aggressive too.
Yeah. This is changing. But I think what's happening is some of the women are adopting the male rather than being the feminine. And so you can't really say it's just men who go to war, because there was like Madeline Albright and
be all into that. Yeah,
and,
but not as
Margaret
many.
Thatcher.
Yeah.
Yes, for the most part.
For the most part, not as many. Women are more likely, I think, females would more likely find a solution without punching first, as an example, or shooting first, or whatever. They try to find a solution. And I think most men would too, but the ones in control of doing the bombing and stuff don't, they don't think about, I mean, it is terrifying. So what was that? What did you get to meet him? And
yes, he did this. It was wild, because before I left for Europe, I had written him this letter about election integrity, because I am also an investigative journalist, and I wrote a book about elections and election fraud from experiences that I had. And so I'd written him a letter in December, like he's not, will he ever get this? I don't know. But I kept my intention to vision the manifestation that I would somehow get to Tucker. And
you did something. You sent him a letter or an email.
I did. Yeah. However, what got me there was completely different. I just happened to be a member of his platform, and they sent this letter out saying, we're doing this new segment called Ask Tucker. So send us a, short 25-second clip of a question that you would ask Tucker. And if you get picked, you get to come on and be on a Zoom with him.
Cool.
And ask him.
Wow.
And so right away I sent away, do you believe in afterlife? And if you do you think we can speak to those who have passed on? And right away I got the thing saying, yep, you come on. So I was one of 5 out of 900 people.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
It's wild. It's so exciting. And it's what Einstein had said in the reading in Bucharest: when you get the circle, we're going to start to break you open to bigger audiences so we can get this information out.
Okay.
So I had 5 minutes with Tucker, and it was so interesting because he is Christian and basically said, of course I believe in afterlife. I wouldn't be here. I don't think life wouldn't have meaning without afterlife. And I posed the question, since Jesus came, rose from the dead, and went back and talked to all his friends, do you think we can? And he said, well, yes, but I've seen a ghost, he said, but you have to be careful because we all know about possession and demons disguising themselves. And I said, but how did the early prophets know that it was God talking to them? And he said, oh, God talks to people. I know that for a fact. I said, I know, but given what you just said, how did they know it was God and not some demon disguising itself? And he really had to think. And he said, I think you have to judge it by their fruits. So if a pastor said to me, go home and beat your wife and throw your kids out on the street, and the fruits of that labor would be so conflicting and horrible, it wasn't of God.
That's a really good point. Yeah, or serving yourself somehow, even if it can serve you if it's the intention of a creator, but if it's not at all the intention, or some of it's your own intention, yeah. Like and those saying about the mediumship is the same kind of line. Exactly. Yeah.
And we have to find out for ourselves what is our integrity and what is,
It's really interesting. Oh, I see my our dog. Do you mind if I go tell the dog is on that neighbor's porch and he's not supposed to
want to go get your.
So listeners and watchers, we had a dog situation and it's fixed now, I think. So where were we?
Well, I had just had my 5 minutes with Tucker.
Yes.
And what was so amazing as I got off, I was shaking, partly because I really have a lot of respect for Tucker for becoming this staunch anti-war advocate.
Especially as a journalist yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it was the manifestation that I had been visioning intentionally. Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, I did it. Then, I don't know if you know who Jimmy Dore is, but Jimmy Dore is a podcaster. He's a comedian, but he does the news.
Okay.
And he does the truth of the news. And I've loved him for many, many years. And
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Jimmy Dore, he's on Rumble and YouTube. And he did the same thing where his platform sent out a thing saying he's doing this segment called Ask Jimmy. And if you have a question. So I wrote right back, and I knew he was a big Jung fan.
Yeah. Okay.
Carl Jung, which is, the shadow work. And it's really a lot. So I said, given that he's a Jung fan, what does he do when he sees his shadow side in someone else, which is basically the revolution? Yeah. And how does he deal with the emotion of finding out that it's him and not the other person he's blaming?
Yeah. And
I got picked for that. And so I got to be on with Jimmy Dore. There were 5 of us too, but we got to stay in the Zoom with him through the whole time. And cool. We had an amazing conversation. And they took my information and said, yeah, we'd love to have you on sometime and to talk further about this stuff. So
that is so cool. I'm so excited for you. Good job. Good job, Al.
The last one was Russell Brand. He did the same thing. And so
really?
I sent away a question. I haven't heard back from them, but yeah. So the work, and I got in Arizona, I got my book to Deepak Chopra. I got my Einstein book. I handed it to him and said, I'm supposed to tell you to read this. And he took it and he looked at me, said, I will read it. And, I got my book to Matthias Desmet, who is a Belgian statistician who wrote a book called The Psychology of Totalitarianism, which is really...
I have heard of that. I haven't read it.
It's more than just like political science. It's really about us, and because conflict revolution helps us deal with our propaganda in our heads. We can't do it, or they're to blame. And so his book was really instrumental. So I went to Belgium where he is and I dropped off a book for him. And so it's been a really amazing. I've had some chances to channel and had some chances to just talk a lot to people about this work and find out from the scientists that I'm on the right track.
Cool. That is so cool. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, that sounds like you are just adventuring, and both in the spiritual realms, the physical realms, and the mental realms and the emotional realms. I mean, you're going through all of it, and just in fast forward all of a sudden, like for like a few years here now, like you're just like, I feel like you've always been on your life, you've always been working on your life. And, but this is totally different for you. So, listeners and watchers, Barbara did say she did channel Albert Einstein in our first podcast with her. And she said she wouldn't mind doing it again. Maybe if I asked her and we said, okay, we'll try it. Maybe you feel like it. You feel up to channeling today?
I'd love to.
Okay. Would you like to channel Albert Einstein again, or do you?
Yes, let's just
I have a question.
the channel. Okay. And can I stop my video?
Sure.
Okay. It's just easier for me not to be distracted.
Absolutely.
By stuff.
I'll turn off mine too, because I don't want to be stared at.
Okay. All right.
This is the audio portion of the podcast, listeners.
Okay. So you have a question?
Hi, Al. It's Lisa again. I wanted to know, I have a big curiosity all my life about how time and gravity work together and what they are exactly. If you can explain that to me in any simple terms.
Yes. So we will first of all command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and the greatest good be present here. This is a fascinating question because while they are absolutely interrelated to each other, it's probably not in the way that you might imagine. So when we refer to gravity in the work that we're doing now from Afterlife, where we have a much, much bigger, deeper, broader perspective of the nature of reality, gravity becomes an inner force within you that pulls all of the particles that start out in the source. They start in the source as mathematics in the center of the planet, as we've said, where the void and the source actually reside. And you have your very specific, we call it your compilation of consciousness, where all of the mathematics that are making up everything you're experiencing, even as we speak, separate from you, the computer, the chair, the cats, the dog, all of those mathematics leave the center of the planet and they flow on a gravitational wave, making their way to the surface of the planet, where that wave then bursts through into the outer world and creates your body. Wow. And then projects all of that like a projector onto this sort of inside curvature of this physical lens. And then your body is there to perceive it back and interpret it as the entire world and the entire universe, what you experience. Okay. So gravity, while that wave is starting out in sort of a primordial soup of we call it the level of emotion.
Yeah.
It's as if all of your particles are strewn about, mixed in with the chair and the computer and the cat. So they're everywhere. And your gravity is what is activated within all of the particles that are going to be you and your body. And it begins to pull them together. So they're attracted, and this gravity is guiding them together to eventually be this solid body that you have, and holding together your physical body that's now dominated and filled with your consciousness. So that is what we see gravity as.
Okay.
And how it relates to time is that time is a construct of that lens.
Oh, okay.
So there is no time in the source except for the programming that's eventually going to be the time that passes in that lens while you're in your body.
Gotcha.
But you cannot have time without space, and you cannot have space-time without your physical body experiencing it. Otherwise, it's just mathematics.
Right. Then it comes back to the observer.
Yes. And so, and you can't have that space-time and that physical body without that gravity.
Yeah. I'll have to listen back to this, Al. I'll definitely will. And I wanted to ask you something else, because I'll have to listen back and think about that. I'll probably ask you more about that. And hopefully if Barbara comes back. You talked about compassion, being all the things you told us about compassion in the first podcast. That compassion is basically the frequency of, that's kind of what I took away from it. Compassion is the frequency we're all aiming for. trying to reach, if you want to think of it as frequency. Do you have advice for us how to get there? How to be more compassionate with ourselves, mainly, like we had talked about, Barbara and I had talked about earlier in the podcast.
Yes, because compassion, if you think of it as God. It is the God energy, the God force that is driving the whole mechanism into the creation that we just described of your physical body. You're basically projecting out the entire universe and perceiving it back. It gives you this God force within you of creation. And part of being, quote unquote, more compassionate is first and foremost acknowledging that force is what you are. You are made up. Every molecule, every breath, every experience that you have in this miraculous life that you're given is rooted in this compassion. And compassion imbues all of those cells and all of that consciousness with the understanding that you are one with everything. It's innate. But it's your intellect that is the propagandist. It is the place where the messages come out that say, you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not this. And that is not compassion, because those are lies. You have incredible capacity and power that you are just now in this stage of evolution beginning to really understand and put to use. So part of it is knowing you're innately that way. And the other side of it is knowing that you've also been given free will that can override the voice of compassion within you. And it's your responsibility and gift in life is to master that.
I love it. Yes.
Yes.
That's just beautiful. I'm a big, I really like Kuan Yin. I don't know if you know of Kuan Yin. She's a, what I've learned about her is she's also the Dalai Lama. But I found her to be her teachings are all about compassion, not as you teach it on our podcast, but basically, yeah, it is, whenever I do feel compassion for someone or something, especially animals, I feel a lot of compassion for animals. I'm not worried. I'm not thinking about anything. And what you had said is the intellect sometimes is the propagandist. That's what they say in the tarot as well. The tarot cards, we have swords, and the swords are problems and there are thoughts. So I find that very interesting that the free will you're kind of identifying as the thoughts is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And we can't help the way we feel about stuff. I really can't help if I love someone or not. I can't just stop loving someone or start loving someone just because I want to. That's a feeling that is just so natural that is not something I think. I can't control it. And with our minds, with the free will of our thoughts, we can change the way we think. But I don't think I can change the way I feel about stuff as far as the deep emotions,
Yes. Because emotion, beyond just the feeling, is this primordial soup of creation. And so if you have on this part of the wave, you have your emotion that's present now. You have emotion that you've stored up from your childhood that you never felt. You have past life emotion, timelines that are coming up your wave that you're feeling. You are a part of the earth itself. That wave travels through the planet. So you're feeling the emotions of the planet, of everybody on the planet. And so what's more important than analyzing with your intellect the emotion is to let all that very wild and free emotion come up. And Kuan Yin does the breath work. And that's why she's so related with moving this compassion up through the body without letting it marry to those ego thoughts that are the propagandists, because then that brings those thoughts to life.
That's amazing. Yes, that's so true. We can manifest anything with the thoughts. They are very powerful. So why not manifest compassion in a beautiful world, right, Al?
Yes. And you don't want to control emotion in the sense that you don't wake up and say, from 10 to 12, we're going to do some anger.
Yeah, we're going to do some anger.
It's going to come when it comes, and you have to be prepared to channel it and regenerate it in the highest way, like Kuan Yin suggests.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much, Al, for coming back with Barbara to our podcast, and I appreciate it very much. And this time I will let you rest in peace.
Namaste.
Namaste. Oh, wow. Do you remember anything?
Well, like you say, you have to kind of go back and listen, because
I'm going to have to. Yes.
And it's so thick in even a few words. There's a lot of different layers.
There's so much. Yeah, I've listened to the first podcast several times just to.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. And that was just beautiful too. Thank you so much, Barbara, for channeling Al. And Al, if you're still around, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
He's always around.
Big pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I call myself the third Mrs. Einstein.
That's funny.
The rest of our life. So.
Well, Mrs. Einstein, where can the listeners find you, watchers find your books, anything about you?
You can go to barbarawith.com, BARBARAWITH. And that's more my personal channel. You can look at readings there, and it'll lead to everything else. But it's really, I also have a little investigative journalism. I have a whole column on propaganda and how to indoctrinate ourselves from what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good thing to read.
And then I have Synergy Alliance. .llc. And that's everything, the Psychic Sorority, all the books, all my podcasts, all my events. I've got a summer meditation series that I'm doing on Wednesday mornings where we're remagnetizing ourselves with this beautiful meditation to align with the Earth's energy. And then I take a little bit of the map each week. Last week we did emotion, and then tomorrow we're going to do intuition, and then we'll explore.
I love that.
While we're meditating with our breath work. So it's been really powerful. People have been.
Oh, that's amazing. I just love that. Yeah.
That's free. Everybody's welcome.
Yeah. Check that out. That sounds amazing. And, I guess so. Thank our sponsor at this point. Everclear is our sponsor, everclear.com. It is a website and an app that you can get a psychic reading from a psychic or an empath and get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And I am an advisor on Everclear under the name Lisa P, and it's LEESAP. And lastly, I guess I would love some advice from you to the listeners. I think that something we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, like just doing it, just taking that, a lot of people say, I just don't take risks, or I don't want to take risks because it's kind of scary. And a risk is changing your way you think. It's risky. Seems risky. What if I'm wrong? I'm already right, aren't I? So advice to be compassionate with ourselves when we're wrong and we did wrong, I guess is kind of what I'd like to say. Any advice you have for that for the listeners?
I think that is really the core movement of the evolution of human consciousness. I think being able to love ourselves, to be kind and gentle with ourselves, and understanding. And also, you're talking about taking risks. It's uncomfortable.
It is.
It's uncomfortable, but when you're through it, it's like, if we were going to have to say lose weight, okay, and we know that we have to go into this period where we have to be super conscientious of what we eat, and it's going to be uncomfortable because we can't have our knee-jerk reactions to grab the food. But when we do this and we start to then lose the weight and we're exercising and we're feeling better and better and better, and then we get to that place, hopefully, and it's like a different way of living then. And it's the same with our own self-work.
You're right.
If we do it every day and we face the shadow sides and forgive ourselves and find the ways to integrate, then we start to evolve and elevate.
Yes, ourselves. I love that. That's beautiful. And that's great advice. Listeners, watchers, do it.
And then we said we were going to talk about Misty, and we haven't even said one
We didn't
word.
say, well, we did talk to her about her in the beginning.
Right. Okay.
Shopping with her grandson. So we don't send out a message for Misty. What do you want to tell her? I want to say, I love you, Misty.
We love you, Misty. But also what's going on is going to get better.
Going to get better.
Yeah. There's going to be some nice shifts in that.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She did have a family member who just passed away. And so that's been a difficult time for her. And, but she does do a lot with her grandkids, and that's the joy of her life is her grandchildren, I think, and her own children, of course. But Missy, you're with us in spirit. We can feel you, right?
Absolutely.
And lastly, I guess, thank you, Barbara, and thank you so much again for coming back. And thank you, listeners and watchers, if you watched or if you listened.
Thanks for having me, and I'll look forward to meeting you.
Yes, we're going to do it this time. It's going to happen.
In Huntsville.
I have a new phone number. I'll text it to you. Okay. And listeners, watchers, thank you so much, as always, for watching and listening. And we will see you later. Peace. Goodbye. Peace out.
Oh, fun.